Okay, so today we will talk about polynomials acting on matrices. So observe, last time when we talked about the application of matrices in counting problems in graph theory, we had occasion to consider powers of a matrix. So if you had a matrix A, then it was natural to look at the matrix A squared, which we just defined to be A times A, or the matrix A cubed, which is a product of the matrix A with itself thrice. Okay, and these, remember, counted. For instance, A squared would count the number of paths of length 2 in a graph, where provided A is the adjacency matrix of the graph, A cubed would count paths of length 3, and so on. Okay, so powers sort of made a natural appearance in counting problems. Now let's do the following. Let's also define, so A power 1 of course is just A. Let's define A power 0 to be the identity matrix. So what is this? If A is an n cross n matrix, so here I am thinking of A as being some n cross n matrix, then the identity matrix here is also of size n cross n. So I will denote it by In. This just refers to the matrix with 1s along the diagonal, 0s everywhere else, and having size n cross n. Okay, so the 0th power of a matrix is defined to be the identity. Now just like we consider powers of a matrix, it is natural to sort of go one step further and consider polynomials in which you plug in a matrix instead of x. So what does this mean? If f of x so polynomial in the variable x, for example, let us say f of x is just x squared plus 2x plus 3, then here is what we would do. So let us think of this 3 as just being 3 times x power 0, this is 2 times x power 1. Then if A is a matrix, if A is any n cross n matrix, we can define the following. You plug in A in place of x, so the quantity f of A is defined as follows. So here is the definition. You just read off the polynomial, but just replace all the x's with a's. So this is now a squared plus 2 times the matrix A plus 3 times, well, x power 0, now that should be replaced by a power 0, but a power 0, as I said, is just the identity matrix. Okay, so the quantity f of A is just defined to be a squared plus 2a plus 3i. And observe now that this is a matrix again, right? This is once more an n cross n matrix. Okay, so this is sort of the general definition. If you have any polynomial with, say, x power d plus some multiple of x power d minus 1 and so on, wherever you see x power something, you replace it by the corresponding power of A. Okay, so that is how you make a polynomial act on a matrix. And let us just study this to see what sorts of interesting things can come out of it. So here is an example just to see what this definition leads to. Suppose you have the matrix 1 1 0 1, just 2 cross 2, then what I am going to try is to apply a polynomial on A. So it will be useful to figure out what powers of A look like. So if you compute A squared, you will find that it is 1 2 0 1. A cubed similarly will be, well, or more generally, a power d will just become this 1d01. Okay, so here is something for you to check. Check that a power d indeed leads to the matrix 1d01. And so now let us take the same polynomial f of x is x squared plus 2x plus 3, and let us plug in this matrix A in place of x. So as we said, it is a squared. So a squared is 1 2 0 1 plus 2 times the matrix A, which is 1 1 0 1, plus 3 times the identity matrix, which is, well, 1 0 0 1 if you wish. Okay, so all we must do is just add up these 3 matrices and check again that the answer here is 6 4 0 6. Okay, so that is just an example to show how this computation is carried out in general. It will produce some 2 cross 2 matrix. So let us take another example. Let us go one dimension higher. Let us look at a 3 cross 3 matrix. let's take the matrix A to just have diagonal entries 1, 2 and 3 and zeros everywhere else. It's 3 cross 3. Now observe, if you raise this matrix to the dth power, keep multiplying it with itself d times, all it does is just the diagonal entries become 1 power d, which is well 1, 2 power d and 3 power d, and the other zeros just remain as it is. So it's very easy to take powers of diagonal matrices or to multiply diagonal matrices with each other. And what does this in particular mean? It's very easy to apply polynomials to a diagonal matrix. So if f is a polynomial, so here's a nice exercise. Check that more generally, this is something that I wrote out for the dth power of a, but more generally for any polynomial f, for any polynomial f of x, check that if I apply f to a diagonal matrix, to this particular diagonal matrix, all it will do is produce another diagonal matrix with diagonal entries f of 1, f of 2 and f of 3. Okay, and the main step of the proof of course is in using what we just said above, that a power d has this form. So a typical polynomial is just a sum of powers of a with some coefficients in front. So if you put them all together, all it will produce is a matrix with diagonal entries f1, f2 and f3. Okay. So this raises or suggests a very interesting question. Suppose you have, here's the example again, if I take this very same matrix A 1, 2, 3 and B another matrix, well, which can be pretty much any diagonal matrix. Okay, so let me just take some random numbers. So it doesn't matter what numbers I pick here, I just picked a few, 3 random numbers 1, 11 and 40, but I could just pick it to be any other matrix B, say for instance 11, 11 and 40 or any 3 other numbers that I can think of. Now here's the problem or question, show that there is a polynomial of degree 2, show that there is a polynomial f of degree at most 2 such that when you apply f to the matrix A, it produces the matrix B. Okay, so here's the problem. Show that by applying a polynomial of degree 2, you can to this diagonal matrix 1, 2, 3, you can make it into the matrix B that's on the right hand side. Okay, and the way to go about this is just by using the observation that we just made, that when you apply a polynomial to a diagonal matrix, all it does is just apply that polynomial to the 3 diagonal entries. Okay, so let's try and solve this problem. What is it that we want our polynomial f to satisfy? So f of a, remember, is just, as we just said, the diagonal matrix f1, f2, f3. And so what we want is that this should be the matrix B that's given. It should equal 1, 11 and 40. In other words, f must be a polynomial whose value at 1, f of 1 must be 1, f of 2 must be 11 and f of 3 must be 40. Okay, so we are just trying to solve the following 3 constraints. In other words, what we want is a polynomial of degree at most 2 which satisfies f of 1 is 1, f of 2 is 11 and f of 3 is 40. Okay, but observe that's exactly what Lagrange interpolation did for us. Okay, so interpolation is exactly solving for this kind of polynomial. If you apply the interpolation procedure, what we would find is a polynomial of degree at most 2 which takes these prescribed values 1, 11 and 40 at these 3 prescribed points 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so by Lagrange interpolation you can actually write out the formula for by Lagrange interpolation. You can actually find such an f. So such an f exists, and in fact you can also write a nice formula for it. Such an f exists. Okay, so you take that f, that is exactly the f you want. So take that polynomial f. Okay. So if we sort of just step back and think about what we have just proved for a minute, what we have said is that no matter, so let us come back here, you fix this particular diagonal matrix A and observe that there is nothing sacred about 1, 11 and 40. No, you could have picked any 3 numbers y1, y2, y3, and Lagrange interpolation would have allowed us to find a polynomial which has those prescribed values. So in other words, given any diagonal matrix whatsoever with any 3 real entries on its diagonals, there always exists a polynomial of degree at most 2 such that when you apply that f to A, you will get that that given diagonal matrix. Okay. In other words, every diagonal matrix can be obtained by applying polynomials to this particular diagonal matrix. Okay. And again, there is nothing too sacred about this diagonal matrix. Any diagonal matrix with 3 distinct entries would have done the job, right, because for polynomial interpolation, recall what you need is x1, x2, x3 to be 3 distinct numbers. y1, y2, y3 could be equal, there is no harm there. So what we have really done is to show that if you start with any diagonal matrix with 3 distinct entries, you can obtain every other diagonal matrix just by applying some polynomial to that diagonal matrix. Okay. So I sort of encourage you to work out a few more examples, play with this a little bit more, maybe with somewhat higher dimensions and so on. What I'd like to do is again start out with the following example. Take a 2 cross 2 matrix A which just has 0, 1, 0, 0, and again think in terms of polynomials. So let us compute A squared for instance, and here is what one finds, that squaring this matrix just produces a matrix of zeros. Okay. So this is somewhat counterintuitive to what one is used to when we sort of take squares of real numbers and so on. If you have a real number, if A were instead a real number which is not 0, so observe A here is not the 0 matrix, so A is clearly a non-zero matrix, but the square of A nevertheless could be 0. Okay. So matrices in this sense behave very differently from how real numbers would behave. A matrix could be non-zero but its square could be 0. Okay. So again this sort of suggests an extension, which is you start with an arbitrary matrix and try and do something similar, try and apply some polynomial to it and try and make it 0. Okay. So the question really is, so again let us do it by example, sort of a generalization of this. Here just squaring the matrix was enough to produce a 0. More generally, can you find polynomials which when applied to a matrix will produce the 0 matrix? Okay. So let us just take, so I will take a matrix, and for now an arbitrary matrix of size 2 A, B, C, D, and ask the following question: can we find a polynomial of degree at most 2, give it a name, say a polynomial f of degree at most 2 such that f applied to this matrix would give you the 0 matrix. Okay. So arbitrary 2 cross 2 matrix, what polynomial should one apply to it to get 0? Well, more importantly, does there exist such a polynomial? So the preceding discussion has answered this question in a special case. So observe, if A is diagonal, then we know what to do. So case 1, if whatever the off diagonal entries B and C are 0, okay, so if A is A0, 0, D, then we can sort of use the same sort of thing we did before. What polynomial should we apply to A in order to make both these entries zeros? Well, you just take the polynomial x minus A times x minus D. So let us do the following, let us define a polynomial f of x to be x minus A times x minus D. So that is a quadratic polynomial, so degree is 2, and what property does it have? Well, if you plug in x equals a or x equals d, it would just give you 0. Okay. So, it would make both these entries, it would kill both these entries. So, now if you apply f to the matrix A, as we just said before, what it will give is just f of a, f of d on the diagonals, zeros elsewhere. Okay. And since by design these two diagonal entries are actually 0, so what you do get is the 0 matrix. Okay. So, this general problem that I just posed, at least in a special case we know how to attack this. If it were a diagonal matrix, then we would just use the polynomial x minus a times x minus d. Okay. But of course, the question is, will that work if you have maybe off diagonal entries, say if you have b and c being non-zero, would we still be able to find a polynomial? Okay. So, that is the general case. So, let us say case 2 is, well, this is just the general case, it also subsumes case 1 if you wish. So, A, B, C, D, that is your matrix A. So, question is, can I find a polynomial f? Okay. So, let us do the following. As a first approximation, let us use the same polynomial that worked in the diagonal case. Okay. So, let us do the following, let us guess as our first guess, initial guess, let us just take the same polynomial and see what happens. So, we just take x minus a, x minus d, and this is, so let me just expand this out, it is x squared minus a plus dx plus ad, and let us compute f of a and let us see if, well, let us see what we get. So, let us compute f of a. So, what is f of a? It is a squared first minus a plus dA. So, I need to square a plus ad times the identity. So, squaring a of course requires writing out the matrix A with itself and sort of carrying out the matrix multiplication in full. So, let me just write out maybe some of the terms. This looks like a squared plus bc. So, you should certainly check that this calculation is okay. AB plus BD CA plus DC and CB plus D squared. So, that is just the square of A, and the second term in which you multiply each entry of A with A plus D looks like, so this is minus A squared plus AD AB plus DB AC plus DC and AD plus D squared. And then the final term is AD times the identity, so that is just AD AD with zeros on the diagonal. Okay. So, I just wrote this out in full, so you can sort of check your matrix multiplication as well. So, that is the complete answer, but now there is a lot of simplification that takes place. So, what I need to do is, for instance, I take the top left entry a squared plus bc minus a squared plus ad plus ad. So, I need to take those three terms and combine them and see what I get. So, for instance, here I can already see some cancellation. So, a square, for instance, minus sign with an a squared will cancel. So, I have minus ad here, which will cancel with the plus ad on the other side. Okay. So, similarly here I have ab and I have ab in the second term, which will cancel each other out. I have bd, which will again cancel off the bd. So, similarly here ca plus dc, that is the same terms, they cancel each other off, and here I have cb plus d squared. So, the d squared will cancel the d squared and the ad cancels the ad. Okay. So, I just did this a little quickly, you should check this out somewhat more leisurely. So, this finally leads to the following answer. I am only left with two surviving terms, there is a bc and a bc, okay, with zeros elsewhere. Okay, so which means that, well, our initial guess is not quite correct, because if I apply this polynomial f of x to the matrix A, I do not get the matrix 0, right, because I have assumed of course that B and C may be non-zero, right. So I would get the 0 matrix if at least one of B or C is 0, but here unfortunately it is not. So what do we do? Well, this is still not too bad, because observe that the answer that we obtain finally is actually just BC times the identity matrix. Okay. So the polynomial f applied to A just produces BC times the identity. So it is easy to see how to modify this. We just subtract the BC term as well. So now here is the final answer that is suggested by what we just did. You take f of x, but from that you subtract off a BC. Okay. So subtracting a BC from f of x means what? Well, this is x squared minus a plus dx plus ad minus a BC. And now observe that our calculation said that if you apply if you apply G to A, then well the application of f to A produces BC times identity, and that is going to be cancelled off by the BC term that we now included. So this is in fact going to give you zeros as required. Okay. So what we have managed to do here is to find, for the most general scenario, a polynomial which will make the given matrix 2 cross 2 matrix A into a 0. Okay. So now here are a couple of points worth noting. So note that if you take this polynomial g of x that we just wrote out and look at its constant term, so meaning just look at what happens when you put x equal to 0. So observe that if you take the polynomial g and you put x equals 0, this just gives you ad minus bc. Okay, so the constant term is ad minus bc, and that is of course familiar to us. That's, we have seen it in a few other contexts already. It is what we call the determinant of the matrix. Right. So for the 2 cross 2 matrix, the determinant ad minus bc is exactly what seems to appear as a constant term of this matrix, of this polynomial, and in fact the entire polynomial itself can be obtained in the following fashion. Okay. So observe, in fact here's the, so remember here's A, B, C, D, that was the 2 cross 2 matrix A. Now here's a procedure which will allow us to get the entire polynomial g of x. You subtract x from both diagonal entries. Okay. So I have taken the matrix A and done something to it. So this is the matrix A, from which I have done the following. I have subtracted x times the identity matrix. Okay. The effect it has is of making both diagonal entries A minus x and D minus x. So I have taken this guy, and now if you compute the determinant of this new matrix, so already observe A, B, C, D are real numbers, and x's of course are not numbers anymore, they are just symbols. But recall we said before that the nice thing with having matrices or vectors and so on is that you can put any entries you want as long as there is a sensible notion of addition and multiplication of those entries. Okay. You do not always need those entries to be numbers necessarily, they could be other kinds of things such as variables like x and so on, which we know how to add and multiply together. Okay. So polynomials are perfectly fine as entries of matrices. And so now if you compute the determinant of this resulting matrix here, the matrix A minus xi, what we get is, well, the diagonal entries now are A minus x and D minus x. So it is A times A minus x times D minus x minus BC. So that is the definition of the determinant. And observe, this is exactly, well, I can switch this, I can call it x minus A, x minus D. So this is exactly x squared minus A plus dx plus AD minus BC. In other words, it is exactly the polynomial g that we constructed. Okay. So this polynomial g is in fact the determinant of A minus xi. So that is the key fact that we have just realized, and this is one of the somewhat remarkable theorems concerning matrices or on polynomials applied to matrices. So this is goes by the name of the Cayley-Hamilton theorem. So let me not write this out in full. This, the thing that we just said, g of x equals determinant of, so I will just say it in this context. So g of x, which is just determinant of a minus xi. So in general, what the Cayley-Hamilton theorem says is, no matter what matrix A you take, it could be of any size, n cross n for instance. From that matrix you subtract off x times the corresponding identity matrix, okay. So which means all diagonal entries must now be subtracted, and x must be subtracted from all the diagonal entries, and then you take the determinant of the resulting matrix. The polynomial that you so obtain, the polynomial in x, will have the property that when you apply that polynomial to the matrix A, it will kill the matrix, it will make the matrix 0, okay. And we have just seen the 2 cross 2 proof of the Cayley-Hamilton theorem, if you wish. Okay, so this is pretty much all we had to say about matrices.